I'm Bob Babbitt, and today we're here at the annual San Diego Triathlon Challenge, the event that launched the Challenged Athletes Foundation 18 years ago. One of the programs created by CAF, titled Operation Rebound, supports American military personnel, veterans, and first responders with permanent disabilities. Today, Corey Voss takes a look at a young athlete racing with the aid of Operation Rebound.
He works out every morning and evening. His mantra, simple.
Keep going, push forward,
That's whether it's a training day or the day of a race.
Don't sit out of your own life. Just be involved and do the things you want to do.
Long before Mike Johnston became a triathlete, before his prosthetic and the accident, he longed for adventure. The ROTC in high school and eventually the Navy were a perfect fit. He served abroad as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom and returned home safely. One day, just 2 miles from the base,
A young lady coming the other way decided to make a U-turn, just real quickly, a legal U-turn, and found me on my motorcycle. So it amputated my left leg below knee. It completely ripped out the fibula out of my leg the way it happened. Broke my collarbone, fractured my hip.
Is it fair to say you're lucky to be alive?
Yes, ma'am.
physical therapy and sheer will set him on a course to excel at adapting. Then he learned of Operation Rebound with athletic funding and support. Mostly, the nonprofit gave him a way to share a powerful message.
It became more than myself. It became working to help represent all of the wounded and ill service members.
At opening ceremonies, you could feel the pride and camaraderie of the entire team.
I have 25 troops and first responders from CAF Operation Rebound with us today, and they're all getting from the front line to the finish line.
Including Bobby Donnelly, a lead swimmer nicknamed the Fish, who injured his leg during naval training. When it was amputated, a rep from Operation Rebound came to see him in the hospital.
From that point, I knew I'd still be able to do athletics and compete in triathlons, which I've never done before. It's made me a more active person.
Being physically active and able to compete are precious gifts to members of Operation Rebound.
You definitely appreciate being alive, being able to breathe the air, in the cold morning, and get on your bicycle and go for a bike ride, which is so liberating.
Operation Rebound celebrates challenged military athletes and inspires the newly injured. Along the way, others notice too.
Every race you go to, you see people's faces.
Perceived limitations dashed.
Michael Johnson.
You get a lot of fulfillment out of being able to change perceptions.
One race at a time.
Right on time, 11:15.
A large part of any fundraiser is celebrity support. And with us today are brother and sister Andre and Bianca Kylik. Andre lost both legs above the knee back in 2003, and his sister Bianca, who stars on the TV show Rules of Engagement, has been with him throughout his recovery and was actually in Kona to watch Andre finish his first Ironman triathlon. So what'd you think, Bianca, watching him do the Ironman, especially figuring that a year ago, you didn't even know he could do this stuff?
You hearken back to 8 years ago when we go to Prague and he's in the hospital in a coma, and you just wonder what kind of life this person is going to have now that their body is forever changed.
Right.
And it was pretty surreal to be in Kona, and our whole family was there, and to see him just accomplish this incredible feat. And the whole event is so inspiring.
Right.
But to have someone who's close to you be involved in it and a part of it is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Hopefully more than once-in-a-lifetime experience, but for
The
now.
first time is once in a lifetime.
But so Andre, after you lost both legs in Prague, you didn't necessarily get right back into athletics. It seemed like you stayed on your student path.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of my goal, to kind of continue where I left off, and did a little swimming just to get in shape, physical shape, to try to get back up and walking and mobile. But really my main goal was school and get back. So it wasn't until 4 or 5 years later, really, that I kind of picked up sport.
And last year when you came here and you did the swim, being out in the ocean can be a scary thing when you're doing it for one of the first times since you lost your legs.
It was scary today. But yeah, last year, kind of introduction to open water swimming, and really this is where I discovered triathlon last year here. So it's awesome. And to meet the other athletes and learn from them and
Right.
their connections that I still have with those guys, and I've learned so much from them.
Well, that's one thing we talk about with this event is the mentoring, because when you talk to some of the parents of these kids, they'll talk about how for 364 days a year, their kid feels like a freak. And for one day a year, or one weekend, you're with 200 other people who are sharing the same things you're going through. How helpful was that for you last year? And now that you're the veteran,
Yeah.
it's like last year you were sort of soaking things up. Now you're the guy who just did Ironman. I'm sure people were asking
Yeah,
you.
it's funny. Last year, this was the first event that I had ever been to, and it was really about the first time, the first time, it was 6 years after my accident, that I ever met another bilateral amputee. So it was kind of, I was isolated before that, and I felt fine, but I didn't realize how much I was missing until I came here, and it's really changed my life. So.
And coming back this time, and like we said, there's a lot of people who want to do the Ironman, a lot of hand cycle athletes who want to do the Ironman. Are they reaching out to you and saying, okay, how do you get there?
Yeah, I mean, we had a wheelchair, hand cycle clinic, triathlon clinic, and it was pretty cool to be able to add sort of my experiences and share, the cheap way to do things, because I pretty much went budget, and so it's cool and awesome to see that there's a lot of other guys that want to get into the sport, because that's what we want. We want lots of people in there.
So Bianca, how proud are you of this guy, what he's done? I mean, really, Ironman was his 5th ever triathlon. And people try to qualify for that race for years. You qualified your first time out in Buffalo Springs, and then you finished. But what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it sounds so cliche to say, but he inspires me so much. And, here today, I'm out doing the little 10-mile run and thinking, this is so hard. And then imagining what was going through his mind when he was doing the Ironman or any of these triathlons. But I think for me, it helps me to realize that I can accomplish anything I put my mind to, because some of the things that he does are so beyond our human comprehension of pushing our bodies that far. And so it just helps me. It helps me to strive to do better in my daily life. And, it's pretty amazing.
Perfect. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking with the reigning Ford Ironman World Champion, Chrissy Wellington. Joining us now is the 4-time Ford Ironman World Champion, Miss Chrissy Wellington. I can't believe it's like just a couple weeks ago that you won your 4th title.
Nor can I, and I'm still pinching myself to really truly believe what I've achieved, not only this year, but in my short career as a professional athlete.
What I love is that you had a way that you won a race. You went off the front, you dominated, you smiled, you kissed babies, you laughed. This year, because of the crash you took 2 weeks before, you had to dig really, really deep and win a different way. You were 20 minutes behind off the bike. You were 20 minutes behind halfway through the bike.
Yeah.
And you had to be perseverant. You had to be patient, and you had to come from behind to win a race, which sometimes can be more satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very different race, and I've always said to people, that I want a true race, that I want a true battle between myself and the competitors, and I've also said I want to cross the finish line absolutely physically spent, having given it my heart and soul, my blood, sweat and tears, left them out on the course. And a few weeks ago, on the 8th of October, those dreams came true, because it was a phenomenal battle, and I had to dig deeper than I've ever dug, Bob.
Speaking of adversity, you're here at the San Diego Triathlon Challenge, your first time here.
Yeah.
And 200 challenged athletes who deal with adversity just to get up in the morning every single day. And just seeing the kids and seeing our athletes, what do you come away with from this weekend?
They call this the best day in triathlon, Bob, and it couldn't be more true. I mean, this has touched me in a way that a race, an event has never touched me and moved me before. These athletes, young, or old, of all different backgrounds and abilities, are just truly inspirational. They are, and I'm not often lost for words. And just watching them at the running clinics and swimming clinics yesterday, and seeing the determination and the drive and the joy on their face, it's really a life-changing experience, and it forces me to truly appreciate, you know, what I have,
Right.
and makes me believe that anything is possible, and that's, you know, a wonderful message for an event like this to convey.
Is there one story from this weekend that really touched you, or is just too many?
There are too many. I think watching the running clinics yesterday was truly amazing, and just seeing the joy on people's faces will live with me for a lifetime. But especially some of the kids, little Haven, whose story is just, you know, bewildering to think what she's gone through, but just she's such a positive, determined, intelligent, bright, charismatic little girl, and it's a lesson to all of us. It really is.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you, and thanks for all that the Challenge Athletes Foundation does for these athletes and for able-bodied athletes as well. It's amazing, and you know, I wouldn't have been anywhere else this weekend.
Chrissy Wellington has been our guest. Stay tuned. Next up is Anthony Smith, a CAF Operation Rebound athlete with an unforgettable story. In today's Challenged Athletes Foundation segment, we meet Anthony Smith. From being pronounced dead on the battlefield of Iraq to achieving the dreams he thought he had lost, this Operation Rebound athlete now helps others make their dreams come true.
April 24th, 2004. Didn't see it coming, didn't hear it coming. When it exploded beside me, that's when everything went white. Growing up, I was more of a loner type kid at first. Grew up in one of the city gangs. We had our little run-ins and stuff with the police. I used to steal cars and go joyriding. Around my 10th grade year, I really started getting into church and sports, and I got so involved in sports, I didn't have time for the game. So it was like, either you're gonna do one or the other. I was having fun, and I was having fun and not getting in trouble having fun.
He was in everything from basketball, cross-country running, and football. I mean, he done everything. And we was there, well, I was there, at every game, every track meet, everything.
My mother was a hard worker at that time. She was holding down 2 jobs and working side jobs to make sure we was taken care of. Everywhere he went, I was going in, just following. Terry took care of it. I mean, when Mama wasn't around, she was like the second mama. So, you know, she took care of us, just like my brother Michael took care of me because my father wasn't around. Michael was my role model really to everything, you know. It was because of Michael I started playing sports. I actually was gonna drop out of college and just go straight into the military. And so he kind of pushed me toward the ROTC program and finishing up my education and stuff. So my brother was more the guiding light toward the Army. After he came back from Kuwait, he was doing a night shift job. In 1995, he got hit by a drunk driver on the way home. You know, after all that fighting and, you know, working on bombs and defusing bombs and getting out all them cases, he get hit by a drunk driver who runs a light and kills him. So that was a big impact on me right there. And it was because of him I got into the military. So I always emulated whatever he tried to do.
When the Iraq war started, it was just really horrific because that was something that really worried me, you know, because they were sending so many troops over there.
When I first went into Iraq, you know, it's a horrible smell. It's like all the sewage just broke or something like that. The area is kind of like a junkyard to me. Looked like a big junkyard. Need to be cleaned up real bad. That morning, I had just finished playing cards and stuff with my buddies, and somebody came banging on the door saying that they think they're having an incoming fire gonna come in, so they want all us to go to the bunkers and stuff. That's when I got hit by the RPG. And after that, everything, I don't remember. We don't have no pulse and the machines are saying that you're dead, then you go in the body bag.
I mean, I was sitting here watching television. We was already nervous and upset because we didn't know what was going on.
They had listed me as killed in action. They were looking for my social security number and stuff for identification for me. And nobody put my dog tags and my personal effects stuff at the time. So the nurse came by and they didn't have the body bag all the way zipped up, so she just opened up the body bag to see what my dog tags were, and she started seeing bubbles coming out from my tray and realized that, you know, this guy's still alive. So they pulled me back in and started working on me, got me resuscitated properly, and then they shipped me out to Baghdad.
And that's when we got the phone call saying that, you know, that Anthony had got hit. They said that he may possibly be dead. They really weren't sure.
End up in a coma for 62 days.
When Anthony finally woke up, I was just thanking God that he pulled through, that he woke up.
Initially, I couldn't remember anything. I mean, you know, you got a guy that was a whiz in math and computers and stuff, and then you get a brain injury where you learn how to do 1 + 1, you know, equals 2 all over again. I almost said it wrong then. I got post-traumatic stress, lost vision in my right eye, have T7 spinal cord injury. I lost my full hip. I don't have a hip at all. I have what they call a girdle in there, leaving my leg 1.5 inch sorted on the other side. My most obvious one, I lost my right arm. During my recovery, you know, you had to just learn so much all over again. You know, I started remembering stuff about my brother when I was going through my recovery phase, I guess you want to call it, when I was in therapy. You know, like you kind of hear your brother in your head saying like, you know, you can do this, push harder, you know. I know you ain't gonna give up on me now, you little punk, you know. You know, you hear those little voices in your head that kind of get you motivated and keep going.
The fact that he believed in himself, you know, all Anthony needed was some support.
When I got back, I got into the aerobics group and started doing all the aquatic exercises to strengthen my body. And that's when I ran into Nico. And he changed the whole aspect of everything I was doing.
When I first saw Anthony, he was 310 pounds, in a wheelchair, smoking cigarettes. And I knew that, hey, this is somebody that we really need to reach out to. It looks like he needs a little extra support, and he needs somebody to get behind him. And so that's when I approached him and let him know about what we could do through the CAF Operation Rebound program. At first, he was a bit tentative. Anthony's first response to the program, when I told him about it, he's a bit, you know, wary. He had been told these things before, that organizations would support him, and they didn't come through with what he expected. And I think really talking to Tamika, his wife, she convinced him to, hey, why don't you give these guys a call and see what they can do for you. I
told him I wanted to get back into cycling, and I want to get back into my martial arts. He said, well, why don't you do it? I'm like, well, the finances ain't there, and I don't have a trainer. You know, I kind of like made all the excuses, and then it was like a month later, my bike showed up. Operation Rebound actually bought me a bike. It was like my bike. And they bought me all the stuff that needed to go on that bike. so that I could be able to perform with it.
Sports are incredibly important for these men and women, and a lot of them find that they end up doing things they never thought they could do prior to being injured. I don't think Anthony was thinking about doing triathlon prior to losing his arm and a big chunk of his hip missing, and losing eyesight in one eye. That would have never occurred to him, and now he's a triathlete. Challenge Athletes Foundation was key to Anthony's progression through his martial arts training. We've been providing the funding for his training for the last 2.5 years now.
I tell Nico and them all the time, I say, I'm probably the first black belt amputee that made it all the way through a Yangwon-Ryu testing to become a black belt. You know, I had the dream to open up my own school and passed out a bunch of applications. But, you know, I didn't think that many people were gonna come back. The next month, we went from 7 students to 301.
I think he realized what his purpose was. You know, I mean, we all here for a purpose. Some of us never get it, some of us do. And I believe Anthony has found his purpose.
You have somebody who obviously had some trouble as a youth, and now he's making sure that kids don't get involved in those type of things. That's what Anthony's all about. And I think that's the spirit that he instills in these kids as well, where they see somebody who's different, you know, physically, and able to achieve, you know, a black belt or do a triathlon, and they go, if he can do it, maybe I can do it as well.
Martial arts teaches us to never give up, and that's what that tattoo symbolizes. It says no matter how many times that I go through and I struggle, and no matter how many times I'm beat down, I'll never give up. I'll always be persistent.
Well, that's a pretty ring. Or what the color represent? Any particular thing?
Yeah, that's the Purple Heart.
Oh, okay. It's beautiful. Oh, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you.
Even with all the things that I went through, and then to be able to have a son and be able to raise your son.
Get the bite. Come on, push it.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I'm very happy, you know. You know, I have my good days and bad days, I think, like any other disabled guy has. But overall, I'm very happy. And not just happy, but content. And, you know, that's what I'm most proud of, that I'm able to get up in the morning, have somebody counting on me, have somebody looking forward to seeing me. You know, that gives me that lift and that pride that I need to keep going.
To learn more about the Challenged Athletes Foundation, visit their website at www.challengedathletes.org.
Thanks for joining us at the 18th Annual San Diego Triathlon Challenge. We hope you were moved. And remember, no matter what your challenge, when you're running, swimming, cycling, or riding a mountain bike, you always want to be going all out.
For more information on this program, log on to 4SD.com, powered by Sign On San Diego.